Hey, seventh grade. If you are watching this video today, I have complete confidence that you were able to do the ratio tables. So this is supposed to be a fun lesson, but it is optional. So the assignment that is posted today is optional for you. These are some mental multiplication strategies. A lot of you are very good at math, very good quickly, but these tricks might save you some time. So there are two main strategies that we're going to use. The first one is the distributive property. A lot of you use the distributive property when you're doing multiplication without even noticing it. So this is when we have a problem, let's say 43 times 7. So not a tough problem, nothing ridiculous, but our brain uses specific skills in order to solve this problem. Some of you might just use the algorithm or a calculator, but we're going to use a distributive property to break apart the number. So the distributive property is having us break apart the 43 into two logical pieces. Because when we do multiplication, this is saying that there are 43 sevens. So we could theoretically do 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 43 times, because that would count for 43 sevens. But we can group those 43 sevens however we want. And we want to group them into sections that are easy to mentally multiply and easy to keep track of. So what we are going to do is we are going to split apart the 43 into 40, because that involves a 0, and 3. So if we have 43 sevens, we can have 40 of them in one section and 3 in the other, because we know that 40 plus 3 is 43. So in your brain, you can always break apart the tens spot and the ones. And we are still going to be multiplying by 7, except after we do these two multiplication problems, we are going to add the answers together, because 40 plus 3 is 43. So while a lot of you might not think you can do 43 times 7 in your head, you can probably do 40 times 7, right, which would be 280. And you should be able to do 3 times 7 in your head, which is 21. So all of a sudden, we have broken apart our multiplication problem into two easier multiplication problems, and now we can add. So the distributive property breaks apart the bigger number into two smaller pieces. Go through some more examples. Let's say we have 52 times 9. So what we're going to do is we're going to break apart the 52, and we're going to call that, we're going to show 9 times 50 plus 9 times 2, because 50 plus 2 makes 52, and that's going to equal 450 plus 18, and that'll give us 468. A lot of you are going to be able to do these sort of problems in your head. So do one last example. Actually, I still will. I'm just going to move this down. If we have 7 times a terrible sound. Let's go 7 times 38. I know in my brain that I can do 7 times 30 and get 210, and 7 times 8 and get 56, and add those up. So I know that's going to be 266. Another way I can think of this, because 38 is closer to 40, so for those of you who can do subtraction well in your head, you can think of this as 7 times 40 minus 7 times 2. Because again, 40 minus 2 will get you to 38. And in your brain, you might be able to do 280 minus 14, which is 266. There are some people who prefer using addition all the time, and other people who like using smaller numbers. So in that case, they would use the subtraction. So a lot of you use the distributive property without even knowing it, but it is a good trick. Okay, these ones are a little more complicated, and I'll bet that some of you have never used this trick. So this is called base 10 multiplication. And this is still a trick that you can use mentally, but I'm going to sort of write out the steps. And this is going to be for problems like, let's say, 17 times 14. So this problem would not be difficult using the algorithm, but some of you might like to be able to solve these in your head. So the fact that we're using base 10 is very important. And we're going to cover other bases in the future, but we're going to start with base 10. So what I want you to think of is how many more than 10 or how many less than 10 are each of these numbers. In this case, both of these numbers are more than 10. So 17 is 7 more than 10. So that's why I'm running a plus 7. And 14 is 4 more than 10. So 10 is still our magic number. And what we're going to do is we are going to cross add. So that means we're going to add 17 plus 4. And we can also look at 7 plus 14. Either way, you're going to have the same answer. So you can tell that both of these would add up to 21. So you don't need to cross add both times, but this is just to prove that you will have the same answer. 7 plus 14 is 21. 17 plus 4 is 21. So I'm going to write down the number 21. And I'm going to mentally multiply that by 10. And I know that that will give me 210. And the reason I multiplied by 10 is because we are dealing with base 10. This is probably very confusing right now, but after you watch a few more, you might be able to do this in your head. So we have 210, and our last step is going to be focusing on our two plus numbers. So in this case, it is plus 7 and plus 4. We are going to multiply that 7 and 4 together, which is 28. And we can add that 28 to the 210 to get a final answer of 238. So right now, with all the drawing I did, That makes it seem like it's way worse than mental math. It's way more difficult, but we're going to eventually show how we can do this on our own in our head. So we're going to show something like 16 times 12. So whether you want to write this out or just know that our numbers are going to be plus 6 and plus 2, we can understand that by cross-adding, our answer is going to be 18. 16 plus 2 is 18. 6 plus 12 is 18. So that means we're going to have 18 times 10, which is 180. And 6 times 2 is 12. We're going to add that up to be 192. So I'm trying to show a little less writing to show that you can do this mentally. I'm not going to base 20 yet. Clearly need to give myself more room. All right. 17 times 13. In my brain, I know that we're going to have a 7 and a 3, and these are both positive. Right? You don't have to write down that plus 7 and plus 3. I know if I add 7 to 13, I'm going to get 20. So that's where I have a 200. And 7 times 3 is 21. So I can add that up to get to 21. Okay, one more of these, and then we're going to, let's do 18 times 15. We're going to show that we can do this completely in our head. So I can add 8 to 15 or 5 to 18 to get 23. So that'll be 230. And my two numbers are, all right, our two numbers are 8 and 5. 8 times 5 is 40. So that'll get us 270. Some of you might be able to start doing these on your own. Let's say we have 19 times 17. I'm looking at that where I can say, well, 17 plus 9 is 26. So that's going to be 260 plus 9 times 7, which is 63. So 260 plus 63 is going to equal 323. And using those steps, I can solve that mentally, even though really in my brain I'm doing these steps. You might be able to do these without writing any steps. Same idea if we move into any base we want. So if we did base 20, okay, let's say we're doing 28 times 22. How far above of 28 is, or how far above 20 is 28? That would be, well, plus 8 and plus 2. And if we cross-added, that would get us 30. But because we're in base 20, in our brain, we need to do 30 times 20. We're not in base 10 anymore. So that would get us 600, because 3 times 2 is 6, add 2 zeros. And 8 times 2 is 16. So we're going to add 16. So 28 times 22 is 616. And this works for any base that we want. Just the bigger the base, the more difficult it's going to be to do in your head, which makes sense because the larger the numbers, the more difficult it'll be. And let's do one last one. 27 times 23. Actually, let's make it a little more difficult. 27 times 24. So I know that 27 is 7 above 20, and 24 is 4 above 20. So my numbers are 7 and 4. I'm going to have a base of 31 times 20, which will be 620, plus 7 times 4, which is 28. And that's going to get us an answer of 648. So maybe you're able to do those in your head, maybe not. If this whole video really, really hurt your brain and you hate this, don't worry about it. You're not going to need these skills to, survive your math classes. But if you enjoy being able to do a problem like 27 times 24 in your head fairly quickly, that's great. Try some of these on your assignment if you would like, but this is not for a grade, so don't stress out about it.